And in rush, good block by Charlo. Nitty! Oh! He just caught a body! My goodness! Just posterized Jason Maxia.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Q Hicks, and y'all already know what time it is. Big 3 week 3. If this is your first time on the channel, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Now let's dive into it. In the first game of the week, we had Ball Hogs versus Power. It was really a balanced game for both teams scoring wise. Royce White came into the game playing bully ball, and he got started early with 10 points. But Leandro Barbosa and Jody Meeks kept the Ball Hogs in the game, combining for 18 in the first half. Joe Alexander gave Power some much needed buckets throughout the game, ending with 14, while Royce White ended up taking over late in the second half, finishing with a big 14 points to seal the deal for Power. Barbosa would finish with 20 and Meeks would finish with 18, but it wasn't enough to get the W. But Coutinho Mobley would leave the game with an injury toward the end of the second half, so that is something that could impact Power's entire season if the injury continues to linger. Next, we had the GOAT versus one of the best teams in the Big 3 in triplets versus Trilogy. Jarrett Jack got going early with 6 quick points for Trilogy in the first half, but had to sit with 3 fouls early, so Trilogy depended on Isaiah Briscoe for scoring for the rest of the half. Joe Johnson did what he does and finished with 13 points and 9 rebounds in the first and really controlled the game as usual. Jarrett Jack came back in the second half and picked up right where he left off, scoring 12 points, and he finished with 18. But they couldn't stop Joe Johnson even with tough defense by Briscoe trying to get underneath him. And Joe was helped out by some timely threes by Allen Anderson, and Joe would finish with 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists. Next, we had the most entertaining game of the weekend, hands down, in TriState versus the Ghost Ballers. Any game with Mike Taylor is going to have a lot of energy, and this game was real scrappy, a lot of loose balls, foul calls, and intensity. But Jason Richardson picked up right where he left off last week, scoring 13 points in the first half for TriState, and the Ghost Ballers were balanced attack in the first half, with Mike Taylor leading the charge with 8 points. The Ghost Ballers came out in the second half sloppy, and TriState blew out the lead, but Mike Taylor would lead the Ballers back into the game, and he would end with 19 points. But a situation in the second half changed the entire game. Larry Sanders would push Mike Taylor in mid-air and get a flagrant 2 and be ejected. But Taylor would be ejected also because he picked up a tech for a situation after the flagrant when he already had a tech. So the Ghost Ballers lost their leading scorer and Energizer Bunny. Jay Rich and TriState would seal the deal after that, and he would finish with 22 points and 9 rebounds, while Tony Roten and Earl Clark both chipped in with 9 points. And Jason Richardson once again showed why he is not from this planet. In the fourth game of the week, we had Three's Company versus the Three-Headed Monsters, which was the matchup of the point guards, Kevin Murphy and Jeremy Pargo. In the first half, Mario Chalmers and Pargo combined for 19 points, while Murphy had 9 for the Three-Headed Monsters. Reggie Evans tried to muck up the game with his physicality against Three's Company. He was all over the place grabbing boards and getting put back twos, finishing the game with 12 points and 13 rebounds. Timely threes by Drew Gooden had Three's Company in the lead late in the second half, but Kevin Murphy continued to fight, putting up 22 points and tying the game up at 46, before a Rashard Lewis layup and a Kevin Murphy jumper sealed the deal for the Three-Headed Monsters. Pargo would finish with 14 points, while Murphy would finish with 24, and he should be a top contender for MVP with the way he's playing right now. I don't know where Three-Headed Monsters would be without him. He's averaging almost 23 points for this season. Next, we had the real game of the week in Killer Threes versus the Aliens. It was a prove-it game for both teams sitting at 0-2. This game really had no flow to it. It felt like it dragged for the first half, but a nice surprise was CJ Watson. Watson came in and gave the Killer Threes a spark off the bench, and he was a one-man wrecking crew and really controlled part of the first half. Watson scored 11 points in the first half, but the Killer Threes found themselves down at half because of Andre Owens and Brandon Rush, who combined for 25 in the first half for the Aliens. The energy of the game would change midway through when Frank Nitty dunked all over Jason Maxia. The Killer Threes would tighten up their defense in the second half, but the Aliens' Brandon Rush hit some big shots down the stretch, and the Aliens were up 47-40 late in the second half. Then the Killer Threes went on a 10-0 run to come back and beat them behind Dante Green's clutch performance, and he finished with 21 points. I think the Killer Threes will go on a winning streak in the next few weeks. They found their best lineup with Watson, Frank Nitty, and Dante Green. Lastly, we had the enemies versus Bivouac. Elijah Stewart came out with 10 points early, and also Nick Young caught his groove with 9 points for the enemies early in the first half. While Josh Smith put in 12 points for Bivouac, he was hitting threes attacking the rim, including a highlight poster on Elijah Stewart. He just looked way more aggressive than what he looked in the first weeks. But he would injure his Achilles before half and would be out for the rest of the game and most likely the rest of the season. So prayers up to Josh Smith, hope for a speedy recovery. Without Josh Smith, the enemies pushed the lead out to double digits at the start of the second half and didn't look back. Will Bynum tried to create some offense for Bivouac and finished with 14, but the enemies would win by 16 on a Perry Jones 4-pointer, and he would be the leading scorer with 14 points. Alright, moving on to our moment of the week. It is between 3 players. You have the Josh Smith poster, you have the Frank Nitty poster, and you have the Jason Richardson dunk, but I have to go with Frank Nitty. And for player of the week, I have to give it to Kevin Murphy. 24 points and a huge win against Three's Company. And the predictions for week 4 in the Big 3. I have Trilogy over the Aliens, Triplets over Enemies, Three-Headed Monsters over Bivouac, the Killer Threes beating Power, Ghost Ballers over the Ball Hogs, and I have TriState beating Three's Company. Alright, I just want to thank you guys for watching. If you got all the way to the end, I really rock with you. If this is your first time on the channel, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter and definitely let me know what you would like to see next. And we out. Peace.